This is TOS Television, your digital first Pan-African news network. I am Ife Onyekwere, and this is Africa Now. A military intelligence sharing agreement has been signed by Uganda and Egypt, the East African countries said late on Wednesday amidst the rising tensions between Egypt and Ethiopia over a hydropower dam by Ethiopia on the Nile River. A statement by Uganda People's Defense Forces, UPDF, said the agreement was signed between UPDF's Chieftaincy of Military Intelligence, CMI, and Egyptian Intelligence Department. Major General Samir Sabah, a top Egyptian intelligence official who headed Cairo's delegation to Kampala, was quoted in the UPDF statement as saying the fact that Uganda and Egypt share the Nile, cooperation between the two countries is inevitable because what affects Uganda's will in one way or the other affect Egypt. Another round of talks to resolve Somalia's election deadlock ended with a deal in Mogadishu on Wednesday. Somalia's semi-autonomous states of Puntland and Jubaland issued a joint statement accusing President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo of failing to ensure the success of the talks. Meanwhile, Somali Information Minister at the press conference blames leaders of Puntland and Jubaland regional government for the failure of the talks and not willing to hold elections in the country based on September 17 and February 16 agreement. There is concern that terrorist group Al-Shabaab might exploit the disagreement to further undermine the already fragile security of the Horn of Africa. On 6th of April, the international community called on Somali leaders to compromise and allow elections to take place in the country as the holy month of Ramadan approaches. In a ceremony to commemorate the 27th year anniversary of the Rwandan 1994 genocide against the Tutsis, Rwanda President Paul Kagame on Wednesday welcomed the report, concluding that France bears overwhelming responsibility over the genocide. This year's theme, as previous year, is Remember, Unite and Renew.
We welcome this report because it marks an important step toward a common understanding of what took place. It also marks the change. It shows the desire even for leaders in France to move forward with a good understanding of what happened.
Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, in a statement hopes the tragedy experienced by Rwanda helps the African country to protect itself against the recurrence of such phenomenon and serves as an impetus to build an African continent where ethical diversity will be considered as a wealth and no longer as a weakness. Permanent Secretary of the Republic of Rwanda to the African Union made an appeal to the African Union saying the Pan-African institution should be more proactive in campaigning against occurrences or reoccurrences of hate crimes and genocide elsewhere in the continent, which can be a source of nation building. It is no news that Africa is one of the most vulnerable continents to climate change and climate vulnerability, a situation that unfortunately has been aggravated by COVID-19 pandemic. To do more to fight climate change in Africa, African heads of state met virtually this week to make a push for the global community. Every day, the thunderstorms seem more violent, flooding is more frequent, and drought more severe. According to the world, forests are razed, crops are falling, people are being forced to flee their homes, becoming climate refugees. Sea levels are rising, the oceans are turning to acid, and salt is penetrating cropland, said President Ali Bongo Ondimba of Gabon, spelling out some adverse effects of climate change in a poetic way. A plan led out by the African Development Bank President Akinwumi Adesina to mobilize $25 billion for climate adaptation for Africa is what the African leaders intend using for the African Adaptation Initiative of the African Union. African leaders are pushing a bold multi-billion-dollar plan ahead of the virtual 26th UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, Scotland in November. Following the acquittal upheld by the International Criminal Court a week ago, a former Ivory Coast President Laurent Gbagbo and President Alassane Ouattara are free to return home. Ouattara said they recognize the decision of the court, saying the two will be able to return to Ivory Coast whenever they wish, and added that Gbagbo would benefit from the status of a former head of state. The duo faced charges on crimes against humanity, instigating post-electoral violence in 2010 and 2011 that left 3,000 people dead in the West African nation and world's largest producer of cocoa. Gbagbo's supporters say his acquittal and return could help ease political tensions in the country. Gbagbo, who has been living in Brussels, continues to have significant support in his country. This is your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS Television. You're watching Africa Now. Up next, COVID-19 development and business after the break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Tanzania's newly appointed spokesperson, Gazan Mzgwa, in a tweet on Wednesday, clarified that the lifting of a media ban announced by President Samia Suluhu Hassan on Tuesday only applies to online television and no other media, including newspapers that were banned according to the laws. President Samia Suluhu Hassan had on Tuesday ordered media houses and had been closed during President John Magufuli's regime rule to be reopened. He also urged regional officials to continue to encourage freedom of expression to allow members of the public to express their grievances without being intimidated, and asked the Information Ministry to ensure that the concerned media follow the law. To COVID-19 development, Kenya's Drug Authority, Pharmacy and Poisons Board has designed that a Kenyan had died from taking the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The disease was a nurse working in one of the hospitals in Western Kenya. The Drug Authority Deputy Director, Dr. Peter Ikamati, said the death of a Kenyan health worker who had taken the vaccine may have been caused by miscarriage. The board chief executive, in a statement, said the board wished to clarify that there was misreporting of an adverse event following immunization as fatal. The statement added that all reported cases that had adverse effect after immunization are under investigation, and none of them has resulted into fatal outcomes. According to Algerian Pharmaceutical Industry Minister Lotfi Banamahad on Wednesday, Algeria, in partnership with Moscow, will start producing Russia's Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccine in September, and part of the production will be intended for African countries. Speaking on the state radio, the minister said the vaccine will produce in partnership with state pharmaceutical product firm Sidal in the eastern city of Constantine, which will gain help from the unnamed leading Indian laboratory specialized in the manufacture of vaccines. 3 communities are working on the transfer of technology, providing the Russian side and Algeria will have its share and responsibility in the vaccination of the African population, he added. With the Ramadan season in sight, Moroccan authorities on Wednesday decided to enforce a nighttime curfew during the holy month because of the recent rise in COVID-19 cases, as scientists announced the discovery of a new local variant of the virus. The curfew will be from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. local time, which has been in place since December and has been extended through Ramadan, which starts April 13 by the Moroccan government. While the North African Kingdom has had one of the region's most successful vaccination programs so far, it is also seeing a growth in coronavirus infection, especially in Casablanca, the largest city. The kingdom has administered the greatest number of inoculations in Africa so far, with 8.3 million doses for a population of 36 million people since vaccinations began on January 29th. A month for March issued by Stanbic Bank Uganda on Wednesday shows that Uganda Purchasing Managers Index (PMI) has risen above 50 threshold for 2 consecutive months, signaling an improvement in business conditions. The March reading, the highest since last November, says the PMI in March increased to 5.2 from February in 5.2. The report said the increase shows signs that the country's economy is gradually returning to the old normal of the devastating economic effect of the coronavirus pandemic that led to the PMI of the country's fall between the 50 threshold for several months. Firms said it remained optimistic regarding the 12-month outlook, with companies expecting further improvement in new business in the coming months. And that's it on Africa Now. For more updates, to visit our website at www.tostvnetwork.com. Do follow us on all our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on our YouTube. Do stay with us and enjoy my programs on TOS TV Network. I am Ife Onyekwere. Many thanks for watching.